that is controlled. You can't promise they can go shoot baskets with the principal, which was really big in Kansas for a while. The principals wanted to be involved. So they said if you're good for 4 days and you earn your 4 stickers, you can go shoot baskets. The principal was never there when this kid finally earned. There's some poor secretary shooting hoops and So you can't, if you can't control it, if you don't have it, don't promise it as a reward. Don't promise a Coke if you don't have one in your hot little hand. Because once they earn it, they need it right then, not I'll bring it tomorrow. It has to be something they desire. Now, I know that seems silly, but here's the thing. We offer this menu of reinforcers at school, quite honestly, that aren't appealing to very many kids anymore. For one thing, kids that are really impoverished in their personal life will work for a Cars eraser. But the kids we worked with in Shawnee Mission, their bedroom looked like Best Buy. I don't know if you guys have Circuit City, any of those? They've got 12 Game Boys, they've got, the Xbox, you want an eraser? No, not so much. It is hard to find things that are reinforcing for kids that we can afford to sustain and that you have access to. But the reality is, most of the kids, when we really talked to them about what they wanted time with an adult. They almost always chose time with somebody, and a lot of times it was somebody that had been corrective with them, like the principal. I think that's a whole other study somewhere, but that's who they chose to spend their time with, a coach or somebody. And it needs to be commensurate with the change. We start at edible, and we want to move up. We want people to get off of edible. Edible and token rely solely on someone else giving you feedback about your behavior. You're not in charge of it at all. The other thing is, if I show up somewhere and I forgot your Cheerios or your M&Ms, it's going to be a really bad day. Because if you don't see those, you have no reason to behave. And life isn't like that. Do any of you have bosses that walk by and go, oh my God, you're doing a great job, here's an Oreo? Do you? Do you walk down the mall and have storekeepers come out and give you candy going, thank you for not shoplifting? Nice browsing behavior. Edibles are the lowest level. Now, you start there quite often, but edibles are really reinforcement. Would you guys have been here for 2 days without any food? No. Have a teacher meeting without bagels or something, and they don't even listen. So, start at edible, you move up to token, and you pair them together if you know how the reinforcers go. You do edible, then you have somebody earn tokens to get an edible, but then you move up. You're trying to move up the ladder. Then they earn tokens to go up to activity. Now, activity means something you probably do yourself. I go play the computer, or I go listen to my little stereo, or I go shoot baskets, whatever. But you want kids to move up to social. Intrinsic, I will tell you, is too high in the sky for us to reach for. Because I doubt we've ever made anybody intrinsically understand that it's nice to be nice and that you get along further in life. I mean, that's where you hope kids go, but kids that have neurologic impairment or chronic behavior problems, probably the best you can get is I want to be in that social group, so I'll at least conform to their rules so I can stay there. What did we say about social skills earlier? They're usually problematic, right? So you've got somebody that works their buns off to get some kind of social reward, and then it is typically a disaster. So there's another problem you have to deal with. You have to teach them how to do their social reinforcement. Because a game of Uno that gets you suspended is not really reinforcing. Okay? Visual systems are extremely helpful for kids with any kind of neurologic impairment. Point sheets, sticker sheets, written strategies are good, kind of some scripting, but be careful that we don't get kids so scripted that they can't deviate from the script. But some social stories like we use with kids with autism, those are sometimes very helpful for kids with traumatic brain injury. Hey, we're going to go to an assembly tomorrow, and there's going to be 1 million kids in the gym. We practice stuff. We go. When we were going to, at one of the elementary schools I worked in, they had the parade of Halloween costumes. And every kid in the elementary school wore a Halloween costume, and they had this big parade. They made this big deal of it. 3 years running, my kid made it around the first corner, and then got yanked out of the parade. Now, to his defense, I don't know why his mother thought a ninja outfit was a good idea with the little stars, little plastic stars. She didn't help him a bit, but we practiced it. We walked around the hall. We waited till the crowd was there and then we walked it. We practiced it a lot. Any kind of rehearsing or practicing is much more likely to help somebody navigate. Planners, I'm kind of so-so on planners. I'm more so on PDAs and little pocket computers. It takes a lot of skill to do a daily planner. You have to have motor skills. You have to have written language. You have to have, there's a lot. And I know you have to have some of those components, but if your handwriting is so bad that you can't read what your note says, when you're looking at it tomorrow, which was often the case, that planner is useless. Doesn't matter if you spent your whole evening doing your planner. If you can't read it the next day, it's useless. So PDAs and things are much more helpful. Make a real change in what you expect from the student, but also in what you expect from the environment. This is what I love about school choice. Isn't this really what school choice is like? So what are you wearing tomorrow? Yeah, probably the same thing. Kind of like Janet and I getting dressed in the morning. We act like kids have all these choices at school. And really, it's do what we want or get out of the classroom. It's do it the way I showed you, not the way someone else said. I mean, we are very arbitrary at school in what we'll accept. And so we have to, as teams, help schools get over some of that. Think outside of the box. See if you can present it differently. And then this is just Einstein's quote, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results is the definition of crazy. And I find that's where schools operate. We do the same thing over and over again, and then we have no idea why these kids' behavior is not changing. Now, we spent a lot of time running off 3 case studies for you guys, but we're not going to have time to get to those. So maybe, well, she's gone, so I don't know. Maybe Brenda can go over those. The activity we would have you do is read the scenario and then write what you think the antecedent was. The ABCs of behavior, the antecedent, what happened right before, the behavior, and then the consequence. And we did talk about it, though. Remember, the consequence is not the punishment. Always go back to obtain or avoid if you're stuck. Okay? Now, Brenda's going to come back in, and I think we're not going to have time. They would just read the case study. We wouldn't have time to do it, so we're not going to.
I would suggest what you could do, since we don't have time to do the case study, you could do this as a team activity at your next team meeting, because you all have the same 3 case studies. They're very, self-explanatory, and behind the case study has the ABC plan. Want to say anything about it?
We were just talking about it a little bit. If you, the biggest trick is if you can identify the consequence and then implement a plan to change that consequence. If you guys can get that down as a team, that'll be the best thing you can do with that. Okay? They are. I think that's.